Welcome to a new episode of Africa Today. Today we're going to shed the light on the situation in South Sudan. But first we're going to start with these news and then we start off our episode. African Union Commission chairperson lauded former U.S. President Barack Obama for the African record while extending words of congratulations to his successor Donald Trump, who took his oath in office on January 2017. Zuma praised Obama, saying that he made Africa proud during his tenure. She related the close cooperation between the AU and Washington and also between the U.S. legislators, stating that the continental political bloc was looking forward to working with Trump presidency. And the Chinese-funded railways linking East Africa. Near Africa's Horn of the easternmost part of the continent, a shiny new electric railway runs alongside an old abandoned track through both arid desert and green highlands. Some 70 kilometers long, the $4 billion line connects landlocked Ethiopia to the Red Sea coast of Djibouti. Officially inaugurated last week after test runs kicked off in October, it is expected to cut the travel time between the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa and the port of Djibouti from 3 days by road to 12 hours by rail. And moving to this quick report about in a report that the Security Council circulated this week, the UN chief said that Al-Shabaab used children in combat, with 9 years old reportedly taught to use weapons and sent to front lines. Details in the following report. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he's alarmed at reports that children may constitute a large part of the force recruited and used by Al-Shabaab extremists in Somalia. He said that it is estimated over half its force are children, citing as an example that at least 60% of Al-Shabaab elements captured in Somalia's semi-autonomous Puntland region in March 2016 were youngsters. He said that some of those children said they were approached with the promise of education and jobs. Somalia has been trying to rebuild after recently establishing its first functioning central government since 1991, when warlords overthrew a long-time dictator and plunged into impoverished nation into chaos. But the country is driven by clan rivalries and threatened by Al-Shabaab extremists opposed to Western-style democracy. While Al-Shabaab was the main perpetrator, the report said the Somali army and other groups also recruited and used children. According to the report, a task force in Somalia verified the recruitment and use of 6 of 163 children and 5,993 boys and 230 girls during the period from April 1st, 2010 to July 13th, 2016, with more than 30% of the cases in 2012. It said that after a downward trend in 2013 and 2014, the number of youngsters recruited increased to 903 in 2015 and 1,092 in the first 6 months of 2016. Al-Shabaab accounted for 70% or 4,213 of verified cases, followed by the Somali National Army with 920 children recruited. The Guterres said he is deeply troubled by the scale and the nature of grave violations against children in Somalia, and there is increase since 2015. He urged all parties to stop recruiting children and committing violations against them and to abide by the international humanitarian and human rights law. Welcome back, and moving to Nigeria, where the new permanent secretary in the Ministry of Affairs assured the Nigerians that Donald Trump's presidency should not disrupt the U.S. and Nigeria's long-existing relations. He said there was no need for Nigerians to be agitated over Trump's presidency. The permanent secretary expressed optimism that the long-existing relations between Nigeria and the U.S. would be strengthening in the years ahead. The details. Since the election of President Muhammadu Buhari last year, Nigeria has improved ties with the U.S. Relations had been severely damaged by accusations against the Nigerian military of human rights abuses, especially in the fight against Boko Haram militants. The Nigerian army received training and equipment of the Obama administration and would truly want newly elected President Donald Trump to maintain these improved ties. Nigeria would also want better trade relations with the world's largest economy. Some of the biggest U.S. companies are among the major investors in Nigeria's energy sector, but the exploitation of gas in the U.S. had led a reduction in the amount of oil the U.S. buys from the West African nation. The two countries may yet find themselves at loggerheads if Trump decided to recognize the Biafra separatists. The activists who have been campaigning for the breakaway state in the east of the country endorsed the Republican candidate during the presidential race in the hope of he would recognize their independence movement. They said that he supported Brexit, the UK's move to leave the European Union, and so he would also back Biafra, although he has given no such indication publicly. There are also said to be more than 1 million Nigerians living in the U.S., and some here are worried that Trump's immigration policies may lead to thousands being deported. And moving to Sudan, where it said it was going to extend the ceasefire in fighting with rebels in the country's warring regions to 6 months. The move comes after the United States said Friday it would lift a 20-year-old trade embargo against Sudan, but would wait 180 days before doing so to see whether Sudan acts further to improve its human rights record and resolve political and military conflicts, including in warring regions such as Darfur. The details on the following report. Just days after President Omar Hassan al-Bashir extended a unilateral ceasefire, a government official said that Sudan is ready to sign a peace agreement with a major rebel group in the long-standing Darfur conflict. The development follows a U.S. decision to review a lifting of sanctions that have crippled the country's economy for 2 decades. The accord is not expected to end the Darfur conflict, as several other rebels factions have resisted peacemaking to date. The conflict erupted in 2003 when mainly non-Arab tribes took up arms against Sudan's Arab-led government. The United States said that last week it would unfreeze Sudan's assets and remove financial sanctions as a response to Khartoum's cooperation in fighting the terrorist state and other militants, but would wait 180 days to assess progress on human rights and resolving conflicts such as in Darfur. Talks to secure a lasting ceasefire in Sudan's 3 warring regions under the roadmap for peace collapsed last August. Magdi Khalafallah, head of the government's Office for Peace in Darfur, said an agreement would be signed in Doha next week between the government and Sudan Liberation's Second Revolution, a group led by prominent rebel figures Abu al-Qasim Imam. Khalafallah said that the deal with Sudan Liberation's Second Revolution will be added to a framework peace agreement the government put together in 2011, but which only a few groups have so far signed onto. Welcome back, and focusing today on the situation in South Sudan, we are joined in the studio by Dr. Ali Al-Qurei, a political analyst. Hello, sir, and welcome to our show. Sir, how do you see the efforts exerted by the United States in order to lift the sanctions that was imposed on South Sudan?
I'm sure there were some signals coming from Sudan that pushed the United States to act this way. And it will be considered a leeway for the negotiations, upcoming negotiations, if ever it happens, with the rebels in Western Sudan, Kordofan, and also the Nile, Blue Nile area. There is also fighting going on there. And so they give them something in return. If you sit down, negotiate, and talk, we will give you this and this. And as a prelude, you are lifting all the ban that has been imposed on you for many, many years. Hopefully they will find a solution, because Sudan needs, everything that can help revive the economy and induce the people to accept the economic and social and political situation in the future. This will help, I'm sure. Sudan is peculiar because it was a huge country. South seceded now. You have the West, Kordofan to the extreme west, and then Darfur, and then, as I mentioned, the Blue Nile area. And, they need to find a way to get all these people to unite and move forward for the country to revive its situation in general. So it's a good move, it helps, and we're waiting for the next step.
But sir, why suddenly you find that the U.S. is interested in South Sudan and supports the country in lifting the sanctions upon it?
Well, this is a new administration. Probably this was in preparation before Trump ever won and took over. Once he is as president, he will start, looking into his old files, and he thinks that by acting this way, he will have some good marks in Africa. You see, the United States is trying to find peaceful solutions to all the problems in Africa, and this is an example of what we have in mind. So it is in the interest of the big powers to have stability throughout Africa. And we've seen the Chinese, what they have done. They used all their efforts to extract, whatever they can in terms of materials, resources from Sudan in exchange of, loans at very lenient interest rates. And the United States should act the same way. You have France in the West mainly, Burkina Faso, Chad, Niger. United States, it's mainly concerned, with Central Africa, the Congo, mainly. And England, the old colonies, East Africa, and Malawi, and so on. In 200 years ago or something, the whole world were partitioned among the superpowers at the time. So they come back also looking for their old colonies and try to help them.
In another way.
In another way. You see in England, France, and United States was not involved in this. But it is the superpower now, it should get involved. Mm-hmm. It has a very solid weight all over the world.
But sir, you said that it's because the new administration, there is a new vision towards Africa, but during Obama's tenure, he was very interested in Africa, and he said that it's about time to take care of the black continent. So it's a new policy for the United States, but it doesn't come with the new president, is it?
Obama usually is a very good orator, He talks nicely and so on. Yeah. But we haven't seen something on the ground. Trump is different. He's a businessman. He's interested in the bottom line.
Give and take.
Yeah. Am I going to get a profit for my country, the United States, or not? So probably they studied this and they said we should get involved because there is good stuff waiting for us in this dark continent that we can use. Yeah. So why not? I mean, if it helps Africa, and in return, because in political policies and so on, you give and take. It's not only giving and taking only. It's a two-way thing, So there is an interest from the United States, from England, from France mainly. And France is different because it uses military assistance. It's soldiers, they participate. We have seen that in Mali. We have seen it in Chad. They have also bases all over West Africa, whereas America doesn't. But they have their influence, sure. They have the money, they have the ammunition, they have the weapons and everything. England is, the political side. They are masters in this. They say something and do differently. Yeah. But anyway.
But sir, how lifting the sanctions now on South Sudan, where the country is in deep crisis? How it's going to help the country?
Because before you start negotiations, you have to give something to attract those people to sit and talk. So this is just one thing that we are giving you. Once you achieve, peace, you're going to get this and this, and we have given you the proof that we are giving you. So lifting the ban is very important for South Sudan, and Sudan in general, because investments are needed. As long as there is a ban, there is no investment. Tourists don't go. They are afraid. Lifting this will help the governments of Sudan and South Sudan to try to implement new programs, new policies in order to achieve economic success.
Sir, how do you see the humanitarian situation in South Sudan?
It's very bad, as in all civil wars all over the world. But in Africa, it's even more flagrant. You can see it because the tribe is the main thing. If your tribe is fighting against mine, if I find any civilians that can influence the outcome of war between the tribes, I will kill him. So they go after women and children, both sides. But at the very end, I think the vice president left the country. He fled the country, went to South Africa, I believe. And it's not the end of it, because he can come back with his followers and attack the government. So a solution must be found. Lifting the ban could help in this respect.
Sir, do you believe that oil is playing any important role now in South Sudan, or it is far away from their calculations?
No, definitely it is. Oil is important everywhere. It's the source of energy, the source of economic success, industrialization, everything. So yes, at the back of their mind, it's oil number one. And there is plenty of oil, and between Sudan and South Sudan. And the area where the oil is found mainly is still under dispute. It's not solved. The boundaries are put there, but they are not final. They did not accept both sides. So yes, oil is very important, and every country is behind this oil. And China, for instance, they look for oil, they look for resources, as I said, as I mentioned before, and they give them money at very lenient and affordable interest rates.
Sir, from your own point of view, how are things going to work in South Sudan in the near future?
It depends on the political and military situation. If there is peace, I think they have all the means to improve. And we've seen it. When they had their independence at the early stages, so many investors went there. And they built hotels, some roads, very, very little, but they built the roads and so on. But when the fighting started, everybody fled away. That's why I'm saying that the future is bright, provided they achieve peace between the warring tribes.
But still there is a war between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar, and it's coming vicious and very bad every day, of course, the situation there. So do you believe that one of the two players is going to get out of the scene soon?
No, they will not. They will stick to their position till the very end. That's why in one of our interviews here I said, I think the best solution is for both of them to step down and get a new figure. Maybe it will work. A consensus among the tribes, and they pick up one person to lead. Because I don't think the two gentlemen here will get any acceptance anymore. They will not accept each other. So they have to look for somebody.
But both are from the biggest tribes in South Sudan, so how are you going to solve this?
It doesn't matter. If you get somebody from a smaller tribe with the backing of the international community and America and all of this, maybe it will work.
Well, Dr. Ali Al-Qurei, political analyst, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome once again to Africa Today.
Thank you very much.
And by this we come to the end of our episode. I'm Dina Mamdouh. Thank you for watching.